Hello and welcome. You're watching QTV and my name is Ari Darami and you're watching The Week in Review. And as ever, I say this every week and I mean it every week. We have a very special guest who's going to go through the stories with me. And the guest this week is none other than Fatou Jaumane. Fatou, welcome to the show.
Adi, good afternoon, welcome, thank you.
And Fatou is probably not a stranger to us here at QTV. She's an activist and a political commentator and also a former journalist. And if you're joining this show for the very first time, this is how it works. We have 10 stories that we go through out of the 80 stories that we've covered in the week, and we choose 10 that we analyze in some detail. And so let's get cracking with our very first story. They've been said many times that this one was long overdue. What am I talking about? I won't give the game away. Just watch this quick clip and you'll see what I'm talking about.
The main purpose of the Child Helpline Center is to work towards the creation of safer, healthier, more resilient children, families and communities in the Gambia, which is in line with the overall mission of Child Helpline International. The toll-free line is also envisaged to help ensure effective, timely, coordinated and ethical reporting of child abuse cases in the Gambia.
Now there you heard the minister talking about the fact, Fatou, she was saying that this is a safe helpline, and many people were saying they were quite surprised that this was the first time that such a helpline had been established in the Gambia. Were you surprised firstly, and also are you also one of those who thought it's about time we had something like this here?
Yes, a little bit surprised. I didn't know that child helpline never existed in the country. Yeah. But it's, welcome news because children's affairs are very important.
Sure.
Hence, this is the first time. I hope it will not be abused either. And we have to, still, that doesn't mean parents would not have to watch over their kids.
Sure.
But at the same time, when kids are in danger, we are glad to know that there's some hope for them, somewhere they can call, or some line they can call for help.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when we broadcast this, I have to be honest, I remember saying to my colleagues, I hope this is not just another thing where we think because they have it in other countries, we have to have it here, and then it's not resourced properly, or it's not followed through properly, because we've had other instances where they have all sorts of helplines, even for COVID, where people have said, I called the line and nobody picked up. I mean, what sense do you get that this is something that they take it seriously enough that it will be resourced properly?
Definitely, I hope they do, just as you said, because really if some child is in danger, if there's a number to call, it's important that somebody picks up.
Sure.
And just as you said, all resources should be in place, whether it's communication, shelter. I hope that's already coordinated.
Yes.
And definitely, if all that is in place, I think this is welcome news, but it should be properly resourced.
Sure.
And it should be, activated, or it should be effective.
Yes.
It should mean what it is there for.
Exactly. I mean, the number is 199. It's an easy one to remember.
That should be.
And as you say, we hope it's effectively resourced. We hope, because, as I said in the lead up to that, there have been other instances of other things that are not properly resourced. But I mean, sorry. Yes.
I hear where you're coming from because, I don't know whether it's a Gambian problem or it's an African problem. They will have a number for certain things.
Sure.
Even in person, people are not very welcoming to people who come to them with issues.
Sure.
This is very important, hence it's going to cover abusive cases. I hope, personnel that they're going to put in there are aware of that, and they will have to pick up and look into the matter promptly as it comes.
I mean, when this was being launched, the First Lady was there, and she made a sort of keynote speech about it, and she stressed the importance of it. And as you and I have just been saying, there are instances where we've set up these things and we've not followed them through. There seems to be a real desire to make this work from various parties, and thankfully they've not just left it to government. There have been private individuals, there have been philanthropists who have come through to make it happen, including in some instances actually paying for the staff who will be running it. And I guess we just hope that there is coordination.
They are well coordinated, properly trained, timely interventions. That's very important.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I ask my staff to do is actually to do a follow-up where they find out about how they've vetted the staff who are going to be involved in running.
Exactly, it's very important.
This thing, because I think that's crucial, isn't it?
Very crucial. That's very important.
Yeah,
the staff, the personnel that's going to run this thing, and it should be properly coordinated. And I hope they should be expert psychologists or
because there's so many angles
to it. Because sometimes you don't want to raise false alarms too. So it has to be fair and properly
well, you just touched on a point there, because in other countries where something like this operates, there are instances where there are actually hoax calls or malicious calls where somebody wants to get somebody into trouble.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. So I hope they get the right personnel who can talk to the kids.
Sure.
To make sure it's not a hoax or a false alarm.
Sure.
Because we don't want anybody to be in trouble. And we don't want to displace some traditional settings that are quote unquote, not abusive.
Yes.
It depends. It's a lot. There's a lot
that needs to happen. And it's a learning process. I think
it's
for all of us.
Process. But I hope for this initiative, they have the right people.
Sure.
To look into the issues or to the reports or to the calls to see if it's appropriate or not. We don't want any false alarms, but we don't want to leave any kid in trouble too that really needs help. So I think it's important that they're paying attention to that and they want to.
Great, thanks. I think that's a great point to make and a great point to end this particular discussion is on. As Fatu says there, we don't want to raise false hope, but also we don't want hoax calls, and we hope that it serves the purpose for which it has been created. And now on to something completely different, and I meant to say at the top of the show, I have tried to limit the COVID-19 related stories as much as possible. We've done everything, how COVID impacts on schools, on businesses and so on in previous programs rather. This time I've kept it to the minimum. There are still some because we can't escape this beast that is COVID-19. But this one, you'll be glad to know, has absolutely nothing to do with COVID-19. What am I talking about? As well, as usual, I'll tease you by not telling you what it is and I'll just ask you to watch the video.
Okay, thank you.
The Rice Growers Association are confident that with the right resources, they will be able to supply rice to the whole of Janjanbureh and beyond. They bemoan the lack of machinery to conduct the different processes of rice cultivation, which is hampering their scale of production. Access to fertilizers is another challenge, they added.
We don't usually have fertilizer, especially urea. We do have NPK here, in Gambia here, but urea, we don't have urea. This dry season, we have very, very tough thing of urea. Some people go up to at the borders, Senegal, to buy urea for the rice.
Thank you. It seems that every year we run a story like this, Fatu, where we have farmers bemoaning the lack of something, this, that, or the other. This time, of course, I said I wasn't going to mention COVID-19.
We have to.
But even though government said they wanted to help, apparently some of the things that people said they wanted or needed could not be brought in because of all the restrictions on flying in, people, goods, and so on. Do you ever see a time when we could actually get over this, where we don't have farmers complaining about this thing, because they've said it's had quite an impact on them?
Yes, I think farming, especially rice cultivation, should be encouraged in this country. Sure. There used to be a time when Janjanbureh had a very good name because I think they were producing rice.
I'll shock you by telling you that in 1969 they were producing more rice than they are now in Janjanbureh.
Really?
Yes,
we do hear stories about Janjanbureh and how effective rice production was at that time, and I think it is still very important to help in that area because we need to be self-sufficient. We cannot be importing everything when we have this vast land, and I think definitely government should put more efforts and listen to the plea of the farmers. They're talking about equipment, fertilizer, you know, irrigation. I think they should definitely come to their aid because we really, if those people can get this off the ground, who knows? A bag of rice is very expensive for an average family. So if we have an area in the Gambia that can, you know, supply us with rice, right cultivation, I think they should put really, really, you know, good attention and resources that they need to produce that rice.
I think it's a very crucial point that you just made there about the help that they need, because what they said in a bit that you didn't see from that clip is that if they had the right resources, they could produce as much as 20 tons more than they are currently producing. So that's quite significant.
That is significant for a very poor country like Gambia, and the bag of rice is very expensive. So I think definitely if they have to put attention in agriculture. You know, we have so much unemployment. Kids need skills, and kids, you know, we need so many farmers, young farmers, you know, people who are enthusiastic and passionate about farming and agriculture. I think we really need that in this country.
And it's such a crucial part of our economy, of our livelihood.
Sustenance and food, you know, sufficiency and economy, you know, agriculture. We are original, natural, you know, farmers.
Indeed. I mean, we see the statistics all the time that 70% of the working population are involved in agriculture.
All of us,
So
somewhat, somehow. You know, subsistence, small farming related communities, almost 70% of, you know, Gambia.
Let me ask, I'm not sure if it's a controversial question exactly, but you know, I did some research and I found out that Sadauda Jawara went to Israel twice in 1963 before independence, and twice more in 1965 after independence, to learn specifically about farming methods that the Israelis were because, as he said at the time, which was quite, you know, a bold thing to say, he wanted the country to be self-sufficient in the things that we produce. Given that we're talking about 1965, why did we never grasp the importance of it because you touched on it earlier when you said government should help in providing some of the things that they need, and some of them, they're not things that will cost tens of millions, really. Why have we not grasped it and the importance of it?
True. Well, I was not born yet, but knowing Sadauda, he was a visionary, and so he really went there, or he did some efforts. That's why at that time, because I remember when Janjambure, when these rice fields were very popular and were very, very productive. I'm sure that was his vision that he tried to implement. That's right. So I hope this government can pick up from, you know, from there, because agriculture is very, very important, very important. If they can put, you know, more resources in helping small farmers, especially rice growers, that would definitely cut the importation of rice, you know, significantly, and it will reduce the price for the poor people who struggle every month to bring in a bag of rice.
That's right. I mean, farming is important to us.
Very important.
Rice is important to us.
Rice is important.
And we just heard mentioned recently regarding the women onion growers.
Yes.
Where government is
gardeners, onion growers. There's a lot of women. You know, community garden projects around the country, and I think that should also be very, very encouraged and supported. Yes, you know, because
I mean, one of the things that was announced yesterday, which I was glad to hear, because last Saturday, the first Saturday of July is World Cooperatives Day, and yesterday the government announced that a lot of these women gardeners, they want to ask them or cajole them into forming cooperatives, and say, actually, you know, there's strength in unity in terms of, you know, getting together, getting your product together, and even taking it to market together. I mean, you think that's a good thing?
That's a good thing, and that's possible with Gambia, because Gambian women are very, Gambian women farmers, Gambian women in general, they're very, very hardworking, very productive. So imagine if this cooperative women, I'm aware of that because I traveled a little bit into the hinterland, and I'm aware of some of them, their existence and what they're trying to do in their community gardens. Of course, these people can, if they're just as we said, if you support them, if the government gives them a full support, whether it's going to be vegetables or rice, a lot of things that are going to be locally grown here.
Sure.
And that helps the economy, food, self-sufficiency,
sure.
and cheaper.
Yeah.
We will have, fresh foods cheaper, and that means we're going to be a more healthy, community, a more healthy country.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because one of the things that I've been going on about is that COVID-19 has forced us to actually grow local, consume local, and I think
consume local, grow local, and just as he said, if this is coordinated very well, we can even supply outside. And also I want to reiterate, I know you have touched this probably every program, this COVID-19, I think it's a very serious thing. Coming to Africa now, and especially in the Gambia. So I think we all need to be very vigilant. Just as this rice growers, I think the health sector, I'm not sure all this COVID money that comes in the country, whether they can get the specific equipments that they need for testing and all that. But we have to talk to each other, talk to the community. We have to, stand up for our community, for our families, and we have to be very alert. This is a serious thing. We have to, the government at least, even if they cannot bring in certain equipment, but sensitization, they have to paste, they have to subsidize TV stations, radios. They have to do that every day because this is becoming very, very serious. So they will definitely have to do that through all these radios. We have a lot of radios in the country, online and television.
I'm glad you said that.
It's very important.
Thank you. And as Fatu says there, I think the sensitization has to go on. We cannot relax and say, oh, our numbers are low. And so, I think that's a good point, and it's a good point to end on. And now on to something completely different, but again, something that I feel very, very strongly about.
Okay.
What is it? Fatu, viewers, watch this video.
Okay.
In most of the occasion, you go and attend a meeting where you are part of an, institution. Like for instance, we always take the National Sports Council as a sample. That is the body that governs all sporting associations in this country. So we should be equally treated there. But sometimes you go, especially when they have a meeting in the boardroom, and you start looking at things that will discourage you of wanting to be part of the gathering. Persons with disability, and that place is not friendly, it's not disability friendly, and you are meeting at the board room, and how do you want that person to go there? Is not insured. Is he going to take the risks to try to climb? What about if he fall down? Who is going to take responsibility?
Now, the reason I said I wanted to show that particular one, and something I feel very strongly about, Fatu, is because initially that was about disability in sports. But as you heard there, from Haji Drame, he was talking about disability in terms of accessing buildings, just on an everyday basis. In some countries now, it has been made compulsory. If you build any structure that's a public access structure, be it a court, an office, a bank, whatever, it has to have disability access.
Accessibility.
Now, do you ever see that happening here?
I definitely think, yes, it can happen here, but I'm not sure, whether it's going to be right now or right away. And even if it does, it's like anything Gambian. It's going to be haphazard, or I've never seen anywhere in this country for, just accessibility to buildings for disabled people. I did not.
I think I've seen a couple.
You've seen it where?
Well, I was trying to remember where, because I saw somebody accessing a building, and
so it's not common.
It's not common at all.
It's not common.
And they were on a wheelchair, and they were able to go around a sort of a ramp.
They should definitely consider that. I don't know whether it's going to be a stretch for them, but it's a necessity, because they're human like we are. They have jobs to do, they have places to go, they have meetings to do.
As Haji said there, even in the sports council. Going to a meeting, it's in the top floor of the boardroom, and you can't get there.
No, that's not right, and that's even a little bit too much for a disabled person to be left. it's not a good feeling, and we definitely cannot.
Yeah, I mean, because I like what you said there about, you know, the challenge and the desire for people to do it, whether they do it or not. Because in many countries, what they've done is that you either have ramps that people can access, or you have lifts. And obviously, with the sort of electricity problems we have here, lifts are not really the answer.
Feasible.
They're not feasible.
No.
And so the answer should be really that ramps that someone can negotiate with a wheelchair.
Definitely. Ramps would be the best to cater to this issue. I don't think you know, elevators or lifts can do it. That's even dangerous for the common man on your 2 feet, especially. Much more.
Someone
who is in a, but definitely ramps. I think we can do with ramps for floors that are like maybe 3-story floors, 3, 4, 2. Definitely ramps they can definitely work on that. That should not be a problem. Indeed. Because disabled people.
Okay, let me ask you a question based on my ignorance of how strong or not. In the UK, in the USA, the disability rights campaigners are very strong, they're very vocal. You'll see them on radio, on TV every day. Do you get a sense that there are people advocating strongly for disability rights here in the Gambia?
Even if it is happening, it's, you know, underrepresented. They might be underrepresented. And thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. Some of us, from now on, we can really pay much attention to their plight, because I think this is very, very important. Nobody should be left behind, or you feel like you can't say or do certain things because you're disabled. I think our government really and people in general and communities should be supportive to the rights of the disabled people. And thanks for really bringing their challenges up.
Thank you. As I said, it's something I feel very, very strongly about.
Yes.
And you know, I despair when I go to different African countries and I see how little regard we give to people with disability.
With disability, it's heartbreaking.
It is.
Yeah, but just as we said, at least ramps for the time being, we can definitely.
And those are easy to
put out. Those are easy to adapt to,
and
they're not going to. They're cost effective compared to elevators. We don't even have electricity to man elevators, but I think ramps, to consider ramps, definitely
one of them.
From now on, you know, we have to pay attention and raise awareness.
I think so.
And to do that plight, definitely.
Sure, thanks. And as Fatu says there, I think let's all make that pledge to ourselves and to the community. And on to our next story, the fourth story that we're covering. And again, this one is regarding COVID-19. There's another 7-day extension, but there was an application to extend by 45 days that was rejected. Have a look at this clip, and when we come back, we'll discuss it in some detail.
Parliament was divided over the request to extend the emergency period by another 45 days, leading to a vote by members raising their constituency tax. In the end, it ended with 20 voting for an extension and 23 against. The decision was preceded by the Attorney General and Justice Minister Dauda Jallow moving a motion to seek an extension of the state of public emergency deemed necessary to help contain the COVID-19 pandemic.
Since the declaration of the first proclamation on the 18th of March 2020, the President has issued following emergency regulations: essential commodities, restrictions on open market and shopping areas, closures and restrictions of non-essential public places, restrictions on public transportation, the suspension of the application of withholding tax for emergency food relief supplies, restrictions on educational institutions and places of worship, closure of national borders.
Now, you heard the new Attorney General and Minister of Justice there, Fatu, and I don't suppose we should spend too long on this, but the reason I wanted to play it was because when I got the text that they'd rejected it, I wanted to know why, and it was quite interesting. Some of the ones who were against a 45-day extension were saying, what's the use of having 45 more days of just a notice that there's an extension to this, when there's no enforcement in terms of social distancing, there's no enforcement in terms of face masks, there have been relaxations in terms of vehicle numbers and passenger numbers. What's the point of 45 days?
Excuse me.
So I kind of sympathize with them. But what were your thoughts when you heard that they'd rejected the 45-day request?
I don't think it should be rejected because COVID-19 is a serious issue. But if the government is going to announce that we are going to extend 45 days,
sure,
it should be seriousness about COVID-19, just as you said.
Yes.
Sensitization, masks. They've received enough money to subsidize all civil servants in the country through this. But we just don't, we should not make this look like extended 45 days is a holiday.
Yeah, quite.
Extended 45 days, but you should be working behind the scenes.
Quite.
What are we doing to counter this? Because we are not seeing any, I'm sure it's going on, but you don't feel it in the community. Yeah. It should be reinforced.
And I think it's a good point, and I think some of the National Assembly members make that point that don't just give 45 days and have people sit around doing nothing. There should be restrictions, and there should be enforcement of those restrictions in order for it to be meaningful, really. So
even for 6 months, I wouldn't mind, really, because it is something that I take seriously. Even for 6 months, I think it's well worth it.
Sure.
But what are we doing in that 6 months? You just don't freely give away dates. Oh, COVID-19, what are you doing? They have enough money. Half of the civil servants can stay home. Some who are doing essential duties can report to work.
Sure.
They can have double pay.
Yes.
So many things can be eased with all the help that they're receiving for this COVID-19.
Sure.
But you just don't throw it out there, or we're going to sit for another 45 days. When in that 45 days, or let's say 5 months, 6 months, there's nothing going on. There's not much sensitization going on, and we didn't see any improvement anywhere or education about how serious this is in the communities. So probably that's why they're rejecting it. They have a point, but I think COVID is serious. They should just make sure they put pressure on the government to do what it's supposed to do in these trying times.
Thank you for that, Fatou. And now we'll go for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, something that actually has everything to do with this, and this was the strike by healthcare workers. Don't go away. Join us after this quick break.
Hello Gambia, your television experience is about to be transformed to the next level. Enjoy amazing features with the new DTT decoder by XCAF. Watch television in high definition and excellent sound quality. Watch Gambian channels such as GRTS, QTV, Star TV, Paradise TV and MTA with one decoder, all for free. That's not all. For a monthly subscription of $510, you get 60 international channels from your favorite football leagues, news, African movies, telenovelas, cartoons and much more. Get the decoder for $2,040, which comes with free installation, 24/7 customer and technical support all year round, and 1 month free subscription for only $510 thereafter. Get the decoder at XCAF Gambia, located at Hendon Court Building, former Dream Park, Senegambia, or through approved dealers. For more info, call 446-1060 or 446-1061. The world is at your fingertips with the XCAF DTD decoder.
One nation, 8 tribes. We are the smiling coast of Africa. Gap-toothed, wide smile, rich melanin skin, radiant with the colors of a rich tapestry of cultures, telling one story of unity and beauty. Wrapped in the soft folds of a mother's sir, a Khalifa's grambuba, we embody the past of our ancestors and the promise of our descendants. Follow the records of our history, this story that tells of a people watered by the river in the gleaming sun of a coastal nation. Listen to the folk tales, those old tales we grew up on. Lebon, Lupain, Amon Nafi, Danam. Hear the music of an entire nation in the language of its heart and mother tongue. Our tongues are heavy with the song of our people. Rich and thick it rolls off like domoda, soft like yasa, bena chinla, nyokomom. Feel the beat of our pounding feet as we dance to the sounds of a throbbing drum, ageless in its rhythm. The griot's kora that speaks the wisdom of the ages. The sweet sound of a mother's lullaby bringing even sweeter sleep. We clap a melody with young and old hands, a symphony full of the pleasures of life, the joys of work and home. We are Gambian. Bi suñu cosaan la. Suñu dëkk. Suñu bos.
Hello and welcome back. You're watching QTV and you're watching the Week in Review. I'm your host Adi Darami, and in case you've just joined us, you've missed some very, very good stories. And I have with me a very, very special guest, Fatou Jaumane. Fatou, once again, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Fatou is an activist and a political commentator and also a former journalist. And she's also formerly one of us here at QTV. And so now, on to our very next story. I sort of profiled or prefaced it just before the break there, saying that this was about the healthcare workers and their strike. Have a quick look at this, and when we come back, Fatou and I will discuss it some more.
Health workers of the Gambia's COVID-19 response team are back at work after a sit-down strike which lasted less than a week. The ministry and its staff, the healthcare workers, had resorted to dialogue as a strategy to end the impasse. The result of a series of talks, which ended yesterday, has been fruitful after the ministry gave a commitment to address the welfare needs of the health workers.
Because there are certain concerns, and some of them are something that they are doable. We can do it within the shortest possible time, and this were discussed. And then, like certain actions were taken today. Some of our thematic team leads were also given assignments, and we are also able to work out their areas of concerns, and I think they've started even working on that.
Now, we hear there about a strike by health workers. I mean, one of the things that I heard said most often during the strike was that how did government ever allow it to get to that stage in such an important stage in the country's fight against COVID-19? For yourself, what were your thoughts when you heard that they'd gone on strike?
Disappointed, heartbreaking. I really feel for our health workers. This is not the time when they'll be so upset that they will decide to do a strike. But God knows why. But I think government should do whatever it takes to help these people who are in the front lines, helping us in this COVID-19 times. I hope they get all the resources, all the equipments,
Because you sort of mentioned about the resources, the equipment, and it's an important point, isn't it? Because since that strike was finished, we've heard about more health workers becoming COVID-19 positive, testing positive for COVID-19, and so it's a point. But it also scares the public, thinking that these are frontline health workers. We assumed they were well protected.
They were well protected, and they are the ones who are going to help us, get well in case. So imagine if that sector is threatened, that it will be very demoralizing for the community.
Indeed.
Because whether it's doctors or nurses, health workers in general, there are challenges. There are big challenges for them in their sector.
Yes.
Whether it's inside hospitals, you've seen these hospitals in the country. You even get scared to go there.
I know. I've said
so
this many
imagine
times.
every day people who go there, nurses and doctors. These people need to be supported. They need to be protected. They have to be given everything that they're going to need to execute their duties.
Sure.
Definitely, I think that should be looked into, and at this time, it's a disgrace, really, that it should come to this point. But I hope they are putting their, plight into consideration and making sure they are well equipped for their jobs. These people, are champions, and definitely Gambian healthcare industry, it's pathetic as it is. So I think that area too should be given very much attention and be given all resources that these people need, whether it's going to be equipment, training, time, pay, in these trying times, really.
Thanks for that. And I have to say, 100% agree there with Fatou, what she's just said. They should be given everything because they are such important people for us. And now on to another story. In most days or most weeks, there's an international day that's commemorated or celebrated. And this day, there was one such day, and it was World Youth Skills Day. Let's have a look at this.
Having a skill and at the same time as an educator is very, very important because one, you will be self-employed. You will not be dependent on anybody. Whatever you want to do, you can do it for yourself without depending on others.
It's important to have a skill like this because with that it makes you like you're diverse. When you're diverse, you have more chances to explore different things, and you would know which opportunity can make you a better person in life or an idol for people to look up to.
I chose those two clips because they're quite different.
Excuse me.
Now, one is the first one we saw. He's a farmer and he's also a school teacher, and the second was a sculptress. And the reason I chose it is because both of them, in the longer piece that the viewers didn't see but probably would have seen on the news, they stressed the point that young people need to look at other and different careers and not just go for what would, in quotes, be the traditional careers. What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly, especially in the Gambia or in Africa, skills are very, very important, and our youth population, we have a huge youth population.
Sure.
So sometimes everybody thinking I'm going to go to traditional.
They're chasing the same traditional jobs.
Yeah. They all must go to school at least up to grade 12. But then from there on, they can branch out and acquire skills.
Because some of them have entrepreneurial skills.
Carpentry, welding, name it.
Yes.
Farming, poultry farming, sculptor.
Sure.
So there's a lot that I think these kids need to be encouraged, and they need to open up to, skills that will make themselves, because even if you go to these traditional jobs, before it will take you 10-15 years before you can even receive $15,000, but if you're doing your own thing, you can earn that in a week.
That's right.
You can train other youths,
and as he says, you can be your own boss.
You can be your own boss.
Which is important.
You can set your own time, and you can be your own boss. You can train other people, and all that is going to help the community and in the country. And in Africa, as a whole, we need to emphasize that skill training it's very, very important, and we need to push our young folks there, not thinking, you're just going to go to school, finish high school, and you go sit in an office. That might not be the right place for you, money-wise, or, as a career or for your future. But if you can branch out to so many other things.
Yes.
I
think it's the point to sort of emphasize what you're saying there is that people have different skills and different talents. And if we're all sort of chasing the same thing, I want to finish and get an office job, that might not be where your strength lies.
Exactly.
Let's encourage
but because
them.
We program, their heads are programmed, I'm going to go to school, from there I'm going to get to, no. Yeah. We can have a lot of young farmers, not just women or rural women, all kind of farming,
do parents have a role to play in encouraging their children to say, yes, I might have wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer, but that's not. But I see you have a talent in some other thing, and encourage them to develop that.
I think we need to chat with parents too, because I think parents, even if they were farmers here, they all program their sons and daughters to be either doctors or accountants, so and so. But definitely from home, we can. I think we have to start talking to our kids that, you can get big income and independence from, taking your skills and doing things your own.
Sure.
And farming should be one thing that we should all encourage, or we should all be willing to do.
Thank you.
Especially the youths.
Thank you. Especially the youths. And those who know me and have heard me talk since I came to the Gambia would have heard when I first came here, I was shocked that every year for the last 10 years, we've turned out more lawyers than we have civil engineers or architects. That's, for me, is scandalous. But anyway, we won't dwell on it. on to our next video. Now, one of my colleagues told me that when she was a young girl and she heard that her president had healing powers, she was really quite pleased until she grew up and realized that things weren't quite what they seemed. What am I talking about? Let's have a look at this clip from the TRRC.
At the end of her testimony, the witness gave a powerful statement, revealing some disturbing narrations on what she went through, from the stigma and discrimination and life threats from an unknown person. At this juncture, the lead counsel again advised the public to refrain from taking the law in their own hands, whilst warning that any person or persons that confronts TRRC witnesses will face the full force of the law.
Now, you heard there about the warning that lead counsel tends to give out. I mean, these are people who have been stigmatized because they have HIV. They've been stigmatized because they went through the president's alternative treatment program, and they've been re-stigmatized because they've dared to come out and speak out. I mean, you know, with all that, I mean, what are your thoughts on the sort of healing process that is meant to be part of what the TRRC is all about?
Regarding the TRRC, that's a huge, they have a huge responsibility in the whole country. That's a deep conversation. Anything
quite, yes. It deserves its own program. Yeah, sure.
You know, the discussions can be more than 3 minutes.
Of
that
course.
we will just do 3 minutes and then just move on. But yes, I think they should be. I'm glad SFL, you know, made it clear that if they are threatened in any way, you know, there are going to be consequences for it. Unfortunately, this is the world that we live in, but they just have to be bold and they're strong. Sure. You know, it's unfortunate we were coming from a 20+ years dictatorship and people were just running around after everything that, you know, Jammeh said. They worship it, so sometimes out of fear, sometimes out of just, let's all
the kind of sycophancy of wanting to just follow
you know, let's just move along, you know, let's just go along with whatever. So and probably some think, to be honest, he can cure it, and they are sick, and they thought, well, if I'm sick, what hospital can I go to? If the president said he can cure me, at least he knows I'm in pain, probably he can do something about it. Probably that's what motivated most of them and lured them to his clinic or whatever he was trying to do. But it's heartbreaking. It's not right for them to be intimidated, or they should be, you know, I'm sure that, you know, I wish I can know them to tell them, you know, they're very bold people.
Yeah, quite.
You know, they're going through this and they're coming in public and they're talking about it, and they're educating us so that these things don't happen again in our communities.
Indeed.
These things don't happen to our mothers and sisters or our daughters anymore. You know, and I think we should all applaud them for their bravery. Sure. And I'm glad the TRRC boss and the team, they're paying attention to them inside their, you know, courts and outside of it too.
Indeed.
Yeah, they're very bold people, and definitely I wish them well. It's unfortunate that they had to go through this.
What they've gone through.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Fatu. And as Fatu says there, I think we should, and I think most of us do, applaud these people for their bravery in coming through and speaking out. And now we'll go for another quick commercial break, and when we come back, it's about
From an early age, we value the feeling of speed, the thrill of the wind as we rush to our destinations, the feel of our feet bounding over the ground, the way the world blurs as we rush by. Faster, faster than a ray of light, I'm flying. I have one speed, I have one gear. Keep on moving, I won't stop till I get there. Want to experience speed? Then subscribe to the Gambia's 4G LTE mobile network, QCell. With speeds of up to 45 megabytes per second, you can get online in the blink of an eye. The fastest browsing, stream videos faster, do much more faster. Just dial *335# to join the fastest club. QCell's 4G LTE mobile network. Go faster. For more information, call 111. QCell, Senior Boss. We innovate, others follow.
Right time time, right place, right price. Promote your product, business, and brand to millions of viewers nationwide or across the globe. Call QTV Marketing on 32-44444 or email us at marketing@qtv.gm for all your advertisement needs. QTV Gambia, right place.
And welcome back after that quick break. And as I said just before the break there, we were going to talk about grade 12 students going back to school. Let's have a quick look at this, and you'll see why I chose this particular clip.
After more than 3 months at home, grade 12 students are back in the classroom at a time they would normally almost or already have completed their final exams.
Now, I said I chose that for a good reason, because I think you heard the last student there saying, so happy to come back to school. It must have been really quite tough on them and on their parents, because we're not in a society or in a country where electronic access to education materials are easy to get. Have you had any chance to sort of assess how ineffective that break has been in terms of continuing their education?
I was thinking about it the other day. I think it's really going to hamper the progress or the process, because I don't think technology, we are ready to homeschool or to conduct classes online. And I don't think the kids will have one-on-one online with teachers. That's not possible. Yeah. So the long break, definitely, it's a stretch for them. Yeah. You know, even though going back to school now too, in these trying times, I think that should be reconsidered again. Sure. I don't know. I think they should come together and see which way, especially the grade 12. Yeah. They are ready. They want to finish school and move on. Yeah. So this. I'm sure that's why they want to go back to school and see how fast they can, you know, but still educators and, you know, they will have to, the education department have to see how best, you know, they can proceed, especially the grade 12 kids who are just ready to graduate. To go into university how they can help them quickly complete their courses. But at the same time too, this COVID-19, it's getting serious in Africa and in the Gambia. So if they don't have the facilities in place, I'm not sure whether it's advisable to just, simply because they're tired of sitting home. Everybody's tired of sitting home. So much thought should be put into it. Just assess it and see.
It's a valid point you raised there, because at the beginning of this, I contrasted on one of the programs the fact that my sister is a school administrator in Miami. 1,200 students. They send them all home each with a laptop. We can't afford that. No. We can't do that. And you know, this is where we find ourselves, but we have to find a way. But even if to be fair to the children. To be fair to the children. But even if we give them laptops to go back home, technology, I don't think we're ready for
electricity. Electricity is not possible at this current, the way it is in the Gambia right now. Even if they should, you know, furnish them with laptops, and I think still they were going to have issues.
Sure. Thanks. And thanks for that. So I think this is one we have to
do some assessment.
And for the moment, I think it's a case of we mark them as can do better. Must do better. And now on to our final two. The next one was a political story involving a political party and the fallout. Have a look at this clip.
With his political career now at stake, Bojang insists his current predicament is a setup by party insiders. Contacted for comment on his sacking from the party, he told QTV that he will respond to Bachili's allegations later. He says the party has not formally conveyed its decision to expel him, an allegation that Mr. Bachili refuted, claiming he was served with a letter of expulsion, but that Bojang refused to accept the letter asking the executive to give him 48 hours to prove his innocence.
I'm urging him to respect himself. Don't blame nobody. Blame yourself. Me, if it was Bachili, I'll call doctors now. They look at my private part. They look whatever is shown in my body. Compared to the video, if it's me, I resign.
Now, what we saw there is quite unusual for the Gambia, this sort of thing. I chose it because I haven't seen the video. I don't even want to see the video that led to his expulsion. But I think the fact that the party seemed to be washing its dirty linen in public.
Exactly. That's what I want to tell you. It's very, very unprofessional.
Yeah.
It's very unprofessional. It's very uncalled for. This is his private business. Yeah. I've seen the video. I didn't watch the video. I don't watch stuff like
Several
that.
of my colleagues have.
I don't. I don't watch. I'm not going to watch any of these videos. Neighbors, politicians, friends. I don't get into that. I don't watch it at all. But hey, it's on social media. Nobody can control it.
Quite.
He was caught with his pants down.
Literally.
You know. So. We can't even blame him. It just happened. It just happened. But the way they are,
the party is handling it.
Both of them, the way they are handling it, you know, it's very unprofessional. It's very uncalled for, and it's very, very unnecessary. This would have been a simple matter politically to solve. It's not not simple per se, because it made headlines and it's all over. And this is Gambia. If we were in New York or somewhere else in the U.S., hey, just a day or two and life goes on.
That's right.
But if such a thing happens here, it's definitely a cause. It's a big story, and it affects a whole lot of people. But hey, life goes on. It happened. They can part ways in a much cordial way, much more dignified way than what we saw. Sure. The kind of press conference he made, the kind of press conference they did. Yeah. This one blaming it's not right. We're not impressed, and definitely we have nothing to do with it. It's a party thing. It's a political thing. I think,
and I'm glad you said that, because that was the point I was about to make. It's a party thing, it's a political thing. Why did they not have that argument behind closed doors before
they
coming
come out
to the public?
Yeah, I think they both made mistakes, both parties. I think
Bojang first went
with
on his press conference, didn't he? And then he spoke on one of the
rambling press conference. You know, no, that's not what he could have done. He was just gonna come, apologize to the government people, apologize to his party, his fans, his friends, relatives, and family,
and say people make mistakes.
That's it.
Yeah, just say, you know, people make mistakes. I made a mistake.
I made a mistake, and I apologize if you if you are offended, and of course, you know, I didn't mean it that way, and that's it. But you know, he should not even go into details how it happened, who called who, and what. Sure. So when that happened, or even mentioning party insiders, even if that was the case, that was not the place to say it. But if that happened, he did. So I think that's what prompted these other folks to follow it up with a press release and an expulsion letter. We're not impressed, but that's not the way to do it. But I'm glad it's not over, but maybe his political career is affected. But there are a whole lot of political parties in the country that he can affiliate with, and you know, life goes on.
Indeed, thank you for that. And we now move on to our final story. And as I said, we can't escape COVID-19. And this last one is another COVID-19 related story. So have a quick look at this, and it's an important one.
The reusable face masks are for staff and patients of the health facilities. This support is among many that Project 8 The Gambia have been giving to the health sector since its establishment in 1986.
The project 8 supplied 8,000 masks to all the facilities within CRR. But again, they say no, this is not the end. CRR is not only the region that we operate. We operate as well in the North Bank. Then today, we are issuing 11,000 masks to the entire North Bank region. And possibly, inshallah, on Friday, we are giving 4,000 masks to the EFHTS, that is in Banjul.
According to the WHO, wearing face masks
Sorry to cut off my colleague Gajaga there, but he was telling us about the importance of face masks. Now, the reason I chose that particular story is because it's not just that they're donating 11,000 reusable face masks, but they're donating them to health workers, people who and we've talked about, providing them with facilities. But the reason I chose it is something you touched on earlier. You were saying that government should provide this thing, and yet we're seeing in a case where government's not providing it, somebody else. This is an NGO that's actually providing it. Would you like to see more of that?
Oh yes, I think NGOs always come in handy to communities all over the country or in the world. But definitely, hence this is an emergency, and government has received a lot of money.
Yeah, and a lot of masks.
And we have a lot of, seamstresses, tailors all over communities. Government can subsidize them to make masks for the community. Yes. They are all sitting, business is slow.
I mean, we had an IOM sponsored project, which actually where people who were previously tailors and so on had morphed into providing and selling face masks, and were doing good business.
That's good money.
Yeah.
They can subsidize all those tailors or order some face masks from them. Quite. Give them material or give them some money or just order from them when they are sure that government will sell it. Will buy it from them. Yeah. That's good money. That's good incentive for them to be sitting when business is slow.
Sure.
And then government can in turn provide that for health workers, for communities, for teachers, for students. Internally they can make some good, effective business. Production can be, very productivity in the community. Sure. That's not going to cost them much.
Exactly.
And at the same time we can fulfill the need for providing masks, and at the same time, those who make it can be making a little money on the side and keep their families going. We need to be thinking fast in these trying times. But sometimes, most of the time, it feels like it's stagnant. You don't know.
People get almost paralyzed by COVID-19. Like,
COVID-19,
everything
is at a standstill, and you don't know where to turn to or what's been going on about it. If our health workers are on strike, imagine. So I think it's very important that we have to think fast.
Sure.
How to, in this trying times, these COVID times, how are we going to keep the community moving?
Sure.
How are we going to keep businesses moving? And this making masks is one of the projects, just like this NGO is doing. Government can subsidize, just as they can subsidize tourism, but we have to act fast and put money where it is supposed to go into, investable, so that we can feel and see the impact of their efforts. That's always what's lacking.
I'm smiling because that's a very powerful statement to end on.
Yeah.
And I think you made a really, really crucial point. And I hope the people who matter, authorities, are listening to what Fatou just had to say there. And that brings us to the end of the show. And they say all good things come to an end. So I'd just like to end by thanking my guest, Fatou Jaumane, for joining me this week. Thanks, Fatou, for coming along.
I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for having me, Ade.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been good, anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And as ever, I thank the viewers for watching, and I say please join us again same time next week, but for now it's goodbye, and please tell your friends if you like the program, and if you don't, tell us. Goodbye.